This episode is brought to you by Red Bike Delivery. This delivery service operates only using battery-powered, eco-friendly transportation. Red Bike Delivery is there for all your delivery needs, whether it's dinner for the family, flowers for your partner, or new houseplants for your new collection. Red Bike Delivery will gladly deliver those and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Check out Red Bike Delivery on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Red Bike Delivery, because there's only one Earth. Today I have Genesis Terrell with me. He is a local business owner, entrepreneur, and a big figure in our community as far as doing events and whatnot. The little conversation we had so far, and I've enjoyed his presence. He is also the owner of Banner King. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Hey, shout out to Banner King. Yeah.
So with that being said, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. You?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Just taking it slow on this rainy Sunday.
Oh, it's crappy outside.
A little bit.
Yeah, I was mowing the yard this morning, and the grass was all wet, and came in with grass clippings all stuck to me. And
it's horrible.
Yeah, wasn't fun.
Yeah. I'm having a dilemma with that because recently, well, I won't say recently, but they come back around every now and then, and it feels more recent than it really is. So I had a gas line to leak under my house, and apparently it affected my whole street. And so they came out and did a repair, and then I guess they were doing it in like 4 phases. So now they're on phase 4. And this was something that started like 6 or 7 months ago, but they took a big chunk out of my sidewalk and out of my grass. And so I haven't really cut it the way I wanted to, because it kind of looks pretty stupid if I cut it. And so right now, my grass has like, a partially balding guy comb over that I can kind of do. So
that's one way to put it.
Sometime this week, I'm really going to cut it. So.
I understand that because I just had a cement patio poured in my backyard.
Okay.
And so they had excavators in there and whatnot and tore it all up. So I just planted grass seed, and part of the yard, actually, if you go out there right now, I have it fenced off so nobody can walk on it because grass is growing and whatnot. Right. So that section I haven't mowed, and then the other sections I've been kind of mowing in sections, and it doesn't look real great. But
yeah, I don't want to do that. Well, I know my neighbors are probably like, what is this guy doing? Sorry, Steve, Marcy. You guys keep your yard looking so good. Mine does not. Sorry.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, are you from the Lansing area? I know you told me you weren't, but it's a question.
Okay.
It's a question I ask everybody.
For sure.
So, where were you born and raised?
So, okay, born and raised. We got to go a little ways because I'm older than a lot of people probably think.
How old are you?
I'm 40.
What?
So yeah, and a lot of people are like, I was gonna give you 32, and I'm just like, maybe they're being nice, but okay. Anyway, so I was born in Las Vegas, and I spent a short period of time there. But what's funny is I've used, because I kind of do a lot of hosting and DJ type stuff, so I DJ under Gen Vegas, which was a name that came from a high school friend, and I was like, that's pretty cool, so I'm keeping it. So I was born in Las Vegas. My family is originally from Michigan, and my mom and I moved to Columbus, Ohio when I was about 7 or 8, and I spent the majority of my life there. And so eventually the elephant in the room might be, are you a Buckeye? And the answer is yes. I die hard, but I was there about 20 years. Moved back to Michigan to a small town that is near and dear to my heart called Albion, which is about 50 miles southwest of Lansing. Spent a couple years there, got married, and after a few years, I was like, I need to be back in a bigger city. And my wife at the time was like, I'm not going too far from my family. And so I was like, we got to go somewhere. Because in my head, I was like, I'm not going back to Columbus. And I don't think she was ready for the plunge of Atlanta that I was ready for. And so we gambled, and it ended up being Lansing. And we are not together anymore, but Lansing, for me, feels like home now. And so here we are. I've been in Lansing since 2014 and done quite a few different things, man, and have built some great relationships, and some relationships that I feel will be lifetime relationships.
That's one thing nice about Lansing is it's not a Columbus, right?
No.
Columbus is huge.
It is, yeah.
I don't really know what the population is there, but it's massive.
Metro Columbus is probably 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
It is.
Whereas like Lansing, it's big, but it's not that big. You know,
Right.
it still has like that intimate
Right.
feeling with people. You know, it has kind of had that small town community feel as
It
well.
does. It does.
Yeah. So how did the Banner King come about?
Sure. So, when I moved to Lansing, there were a couple things that I was trying to figure out because I was like, I know it wouldn't be hard for me to get a traditional job, but the traditional job situation is not really for me, being the creative I am. And I remembered when I was living in Columbus, and hopefully this story does not come back to bite me, but I think it'll be fine. When I was living in Columbus, there was a friend of mine. Uh, I use the term friend loosely. I'll say an acquaintance, an associate of an acquaintance of a friend 2 times removed, right? So we'll put it that way. And he's like, "Hey man, I know you're good with those computers and stuff." And I'm like, "Not really, but all right, where's this going?" He's like, "I got to go to court. Can you make me?" This is so funny thinking about it now. He's like, "Can you make me an insurance card and a registration and a license plate sticker for my card?" True story. For my car.
Oh my
True
gosh.
story. So I'm thinking, I, he could do it himself. Like, why is he asking me this? So I'm thinking, okay, tell him an astronomical price and see what he says. And if he goes with it, do it. If he doesn't, sever ties, walk away. So I'm like, $500. He's like, easy. I'm like, oh, oh, huh. And so that is how I got myself into print. Now, sometime after that, maybe 7 or 8 months later, I got myself into a situation where I did not have the money to do my license, insurance, and registration. You know,
Oh
so I was
man.
like, well, I did it for him and some guys he knows. Let me just give it a try. And I remember it looked so good that it was just like extremely believable. And I was riding down the street, and by this time, they had changed how you verify insurance with cars.
Hmm.
At this time, you had to like physically look at the insurance card. Well, somewhere in transition, it had become if you run the license number, you can see whether the person's insured.
Right. Right.
And so, hopefully, I'm gonna go on to the next part of that. So they run the plate, and the officer pulls me over, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Dude, I'm going to work." He's like, "Get out the car." I'm like, huh, okay. And in my head, I'm like, "Dude, I'm going to church now. I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, I'm good. No drugs, no drinking, none of that kind of stuff." And so he takes me to the back of the car. He's like, "What's the problem here?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm getting ready to be late for work, though." He's like, "This car ain't been registered in 2 years." And I'm like, oh, but even in all the I wanted to be like, "But it looks good, doesn't it?" Like, that's what I wanted to say. And I was like, okay, all right. I got to go to work. I'll take care of it today. Because I'm like, I'm going to talk my way out of this. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to take you to jail because clearly you're too stupid to go to jail." I was like, "Yes, I am."
He told you that?
Yeah. I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Yes, I
gosh.
am. Yes, I am, officer." Because not going to jail sounds great, right? And I'm thinking, all right, cool. I'll just make me a newer registration. He's like, "But you're not taking this car."
Ah.
So he towed the car, and that was the end of my, I don't know, my illegal driving, I suppose. So fast forward in the story, how I got to the Banner King thing. I knew that I knew how to get an image to good quality paper, whether I was going to Staples or whatever the case may be. And so I did research. And, this is a 10-year situation, man. So I did research and just kind of figured out that, I think I like this print broker space, this printer space. I like this. and there's a way for me to legitimately make money. So fast forward to Lansing, there was a barber shop and, like a little, I'll tell you exactly who it was. I can't think of the name. I think his store is called Pluto's. A guy named Bread Boy. He's a local guy that, like, you can go get anything from him legally. You can go get anything from him, like clothing, shoes. So shout out to Bread Boy. He was literally my first customer in Lansing. I went over there and I was like, hey, I make flyers. Never designed a real flyer, never in life. But I did know that, okay, I can jump online, and if it's nothing other than Microsoft Word, I can upload an image and make a flyer. And worst case scenario, I had a guy that I knew that designed flyers. And so I'm like, I make flyers. And I hear you always have events. And it was like God sent me there because he's like, I need 5,000 flyers in a week. And I'm thinking, I can do it. No clue as to how, but I can do it. I can get it done. And he kind of kept me afloat, making different things for him for a couple months. Then there were barber shops that were like, hey, did you make the flyers? And I'm like, yeah. And it just kind of became a thing. And even with some of my own events, I started putting flyers out there. And by this time, I had really stepped my game up as far as how to go about making things happen, how to get certain quality of print and that sort of thing, man. And it just became a thing. And I'm skipping a lot, but in that time frame, going back from 2014, I've been able to have political clients, entertainment venues, county fairs. And the cool thing about it, I mentioned in our previous conversation, I was the talent buyer for the Chamber of Commerce down in Albion. Well, it only made sense that I print all the flyers, posters, and banners that you need. And so with that, the resume of all those things kind of started building. And so I finally landed on Banner King, because I was like, show me another one and I'll tell you, really, like, that's kind of how I'm like, I am the king of this.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm the only king, but I'm the king of it on my street.
In your domain.
In my domain.
Yeah.
When I walk in my house, my little Yorkie who really runs the house, he knows that the Banner King's home, right? So in my space, I'm that. Okay. It's funny dissecting and thinking back through how we got here. I mentioned the Banner King name and landing there because I went through a lot of different names that I wanted to use because I was like, okay, in my wisdom of whatever, I was like, well, if I use, a name like Trap House Flyers, it's gonna cater to guys throwing these kind of parties. Right. And so I said, I'm gonna come up with like 5 different names that all circle back to the same phone number. And I did that. And people would call me and they'd be like, yeah, I just picked up this Dope Boy Fresh flyer and I'm thinking, oh, that was that. Okay. Cause at the other part of that, I had a stepdaughter in the house and I had done some flyers for like a stripper bash. And she was like, Dad, are these your parties? And I was like, no. And so I was like, I can't put a recognized name.
Right.
Because I don't want, just thinking in the parent space, I don't want her to pick these up and be like, my dad did these, and it's like girls twerking all over the floor,
Right.
And they'd be like, but your dad does praise and worship at church too. And it's like, geez. Yeah. And then like there were people on Facebook. Actually, yeah, Facebook, they tagged me in flyers that I had done.
Oh, man.
And I have like, I'm sorry. Shout out to Tremaine Williams. He called me out on this years ago. And he was like, hey, man, Christian guys shouldn't associate themselves with this kind of work. And he, to a certain extent, he was right. But it wasn't my party. So I think he thought it was like my party. And the party was like the panty dropper bash, right? That was like, I promise that, I think that was the name. And I was like, I probably printed it. I don't know. So 2019, not quite the Banner King yet, but I'm still doing the work like every day. Even during the pandemic, everybody not working and everybody getting PPP money. They're starting businesses. And I'm like, clearly I'm the king of this.
Right.
Because people are coming to me getting things, And so I credit God big time, man. Over the last 2.5 years, 2 years, there hasn't been a day, even Sundays, to go by where people haven't reached out to get things done. So I'm super grateful, and I'm cost effective, affordable, and we produce good quality work. So follow me on Facebook, Banner King on Facebook, and what's the other thing? I told you I'm 40. Instagram. That's the one. So that's where we are, man. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Banners have become my life, man.
So when you started the business, did you start out of your home?
I did. And so like I would have people to come to the house, and if I didn't know them, I was like, maybe across the street, But if I knew them, yeah, come to the house. And so I was like, if this takes off the way I want it to take off, I have to realistically be in a space.
Right.
Because some of my customers are not your typical 9-to-5 customers. And the idea of customer service and the idea of business hours and the idea of pay me with your credit card, debit card, check doesn't quite work for them.
Right.
And so for some of those customers, I'm like, yeah, they cannot know where I live. I can't have you knowing where I live. And so, I did. And even for people that I kind of thought, they can't be too bad. Like I would have my ex-wife and my daughter, I'd be like, can you guys just like go in the bedroom while these people are here? And I would literally take their pictures out of the living room. Wow. And I would have to tell people that would come over, like, don't bring people to my house with you when you come pick because they would do that.
Right.
And then, people call me sometimes. It's kind of tapered off because after I got divorced, I was pretty much like, I'm going hard on whatever I want to do. I've been married 8 years, and I'm a 24-hour operation. 3 a.m. What up, cuz? Little sleep. What's going on? How soon you gonna turn them flyers around? I'll be like, oh, dude.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm getting out of that space. Kind of hard for some of my customers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will never stick to the new policies, and it is what it is. And I'm grateful for them, because they truly keep the lights on and keep the doors open, and give me opportunities to do certain things. So it was straight out the house, man.
Now, do you have anybody working for you? Is it just you?
So I have people that step in every now and then.
Okay.
But I am getting to a point where I'm gonna have to hire maybe 3 part-time people.
Okay.
And that's phase 2, like right now, because I've been in my new space a little shy of a month. But it's been consistent. So I'm like, okay, I'll be fine. I've been through a winter. I know how to make it work. And so in phase 2, I will hire, a couple part-time people. And so, but for right now, I got a couple people that come in and help me out every now and then. And so I really appreciate them, because sometimes it requires them driving up and down the highway to make deliveries or make sure someone gets something in the time that I promised, because I'm very big on that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not a place like Staples or Office Depot or even FedEx, Kinko's, they hold you to a higher demand, which as an independent small business owner, it's really not fair.
Yeah.
Because, if you, like I gave an example to a customer the other day, hey, if you go, I think they wanted me to do a lot of work, and then they were like, show it to me, and if I like it, I'll pay for it. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
If you go see John at Staples and you tell him that, he's going to get paid they're probably getting like $18 an hour now, whatever it may be, but he's going to get paid his hourly, whether you come back and do business with him or not.
Right.
I have to make every hour of my day count. And sometimes business owners are the worst customers to deal with, because they're like, well, you think I'm going to give you your money?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I do think you're going to give me the money because you want it.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about small businesses is a lot of people don't realize that, unless you make a sale, you're not making money.
Right.
And these big corporations like Staples or Office Max, whatever places make banners
Right,
or
right.
they're regardless, they're making money.
Absolutely.
Whereas like a place like you gotta hustle to make that money.
Right. And in my research, and that's the other thing I think customers don't realize is this isn't something that I one day woke up and was like, I bet I could give my, self a good try in that space. I've researched, I've studied. So so there's really, as far as print, if you come to me telling me about what another store is doing, 9 times out of 10, I know because, and this is probably something that other business owners should do. On Mondays, I do product research. So all my competitors, whether they're the size of my business or 10 times larger, I look at their websites. I look at all the different things they got going, all the different sales. And did you know, maybe not, but a place like Staples, their print center, if you go in and take a look, it's really not that big. You see the big box presentation, but the print center is 2 copiers, 2 cutters, and a couple counters.
Right.
And like a couple self-serve machines. And so I say that to say the majority of their, in my opinion, I can't say this is 100% for sure, but it looks to be that the majority of their revenue isn't coming from that.
Right.
That's just an additional thing.
Right.
So they can afford for you to come in and waste their time and you just say, never mind. Or a company like Vistaprint, who people say, oh, I can get 1,000 business cards for $5. Great. They're not making anything off the business cards. They're pulling you in.
Right.
Because a lot of times, if you're in business, you're going to look at their site and say, oh, you know what else I need? And they're making their money off of what else you need versus the business cards. Yeah.
So what kind of, obviously you make business cards.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I got a couple right here.
You do.
What other things do you guys make? Or do you make?
The majority becomes retractable banners, which, I'm sure you know what that is. That's the one you pull up from the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, retractable banners, vinyl hanging banners, which you've seen everywhere, yard signs, political signs, flyers, posters, pretty much anything you can get creative with. Like right now, I'm working on some save the date magnets for some, well, that's a project that's coming up. But right now, I'm getting ready to do a custom puzzle for somebody's kid for like Christmas or Halloween. They wanted a picture of their kid as a puzzle that they can put together, and it's their kid in a Halloween costume from like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, just
cool.
different cool stuff like that, man. But the majority of business for me is really banners and the retractables. I mean, when you do the math, I'm probably the most affordable in Lansing when it comes to a good quality banner. And you get a carrying case.
Oh,
it's
sweet.
fully assembled. People try to come to me all the time. They're like, oh, well, online. And I'm like, that's great. If that works for you, do that.
Right.
But with my turnaround time, with the quality of the banner you get, the fact that it's fully assembled, it's already in a carrying case, it only makes sense for you to fork your money over and quit wasting my time. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Thank you, customers. You guys are really, I really appreciate you.
Do you have much competition in this field in the Lansing area? Other than like obviously the big box stores.
Yes, but I'm in a space of where instead of being my competitor, I will be your wholesaler if you'd like. You know what I mean? And it may sound like a jerk tone to take, but not really, because I know how this business works as far as where you get your products and how long it takes to, and everybody has their own way of doing things. So, I've got a few that I can think of, and I won't say their names, but I mean, good luck to them as well.
Right.
Because some of them have been in business much longer than I have, and I look to them for inspiration. I'm all for it. If I can't do the work, go to, oh God, I almost said a name, but go to this person, if I can't do the work, or if they're too expensive for you, I know another person if I can't do the work. So That's the way I see it. It doesn't hurt me to support another business. But if I throw salt, on their thing, then how do I look to my customers?
Right.
And I don't want to be that guy. So
Right.
there are competitors, but I mean, hey, it's enough out here for everybody, man.
Well, isn't it? It's a good thing to have competition,
It
right?
is, always, yeah.
Because then it helps you to step up your game and
Right.
make sure you're constantly improving and
Right.
making the necessary steps to make your business better.
Sure. And I put on Facebook something like a couple weeks ago. Every now and then, I think every Monday, I try to put like an entrepreneurial, encouraging post up. And I put something like, McDonald's isn't losing sleep over Burger King. And it's true.
That's true.
Like, the people are going to buy Big Macs. People are going to buy Whoppers. It just depends.
Yeah.
And, I told somebody the other day, because they reached out to me and they were like, oh, I need something. And I couldn't do it. And I'm like, I'm not offended that you got to go somewhere else. You probably can try Staples for that. You know, I mean,
right.
It's more important to you as my customer to see you satisfied, and I'm a part of that process versus Genesis couldn't help me at all.
Right.
No, because you're going to come back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if you couldn't help them with that particular thing, they might be like, oh, I'll come back for a banner next time or whatever.
Yeah.
I just recently got a banner, and I had to order it last minute. It was literally like 2 days before an event, and I'm like, I need a banner. And so I had to go through Office Depot, just like a same-day print type of thing. What's your turnaround typically like?
So
Like if somebody wanted to order a banner, what's the turnaround on that?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on and it's funny this question's even coming up because I just put something out about same-day service or next-day service. It's an option, but your design needs to be print ready, and you need to order within a certain amount of hours.
Okay.
So like 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., I need to have your print ready design and artwork. Payment, I'm sorry.
As in like a logo, like if I have a logo I need to print it. Like if I wanted to print a banner for this podcast.
With just the logo?
And yeah, just the logo, and I needed it like today, I could send it to you and you'd be like, okay, I can print this.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are, it would need to be within the 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. time frame. And realistically, it's not going to be ready until like 8 or 9. Right? So that means if you need it same day, as in I need it today, I got to use it later today, you should have ordered it a couple days ago. Don't make your unprepared thing my emergency. Not really. Guys, please still come to me. I'll work it out. No, but I mean, that's typically the turnaround. So just to kind of give you an idea, the retractable banners are my most popular item right now. And the price ranges from like $99 to $300, right? So a $99 retractable banner, because that's my always special. I'm like the home of the $99 retractable. As long as your artwork is correct and I don't have to modify anything, and your payment is received, and you're aware that it's going to take 5 to 7 business days for you to get it. I mean, you're almost getting it for nothing, really, when it comes to that kind of item. And then the standard pricing for a retractable, I want to say it's like $149, and that takes like 3 business days, which still really isn't bad.
Right.
If you need it same day, well, it's $299, and I mean, obviously there's a reason for that.
Right.
If you need it next day, I think it's $199. And so I try to be really fair because I know some other places locally that charge, $200, and it's going to take 7 to 10 business days, and your artwork obviously has to be print ready. It makes things so much easier, but it's down to the point where you have to, if you want it, you have to bring it in on like a flash drive or something. You can't just email it.
Right.
Like, it's so many stipulations to it, but good luck to them. They were one of the people that I looked to when I first got started and tried to work things out, and in their head, they might have been like, beat it, get out of here. You'll never be us, which I probably won't. And that's fine. I don't, whatever. I'm good, man. So
what's your goals for the business? Obviously, you're kind of still in the progress or in the stages of building your business from the ground up. You have a space now. What's your goals for the future?
So,
do you plan on being the biggest banner business in Lansing?
Um,
Or are you
I
the
plan on
biggest?
being the biggest in the world.
I mean,
No,
you're the king, so.
I'm the king, right? I should go. I should. No, I shouldn't. That's a jerk thing. I was gonna say I should go into like Staples, like Banner King is here. Like, do you remember? Did you ever see the movie Ali? Do you remember that movie?
I don't think I did.
Okay, so there's a scene where he walks into somebody else's interview and he's like, "The champ is here," you know. So anyway, no. So the part one in game is not so much to focus on me being in the office making banners or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to teach others how to do what I do and how to effectively run this sort of business from home or from your own office. Not so much in Lansing, but anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just a small glimpse as to what the goal is. Because, I mean, there are other people that may look at me and say, oh, that guy's an idiot. If he can do it, I can too.
Right.
And I want to teach them the most effective way to do so. And so I've been structuring putting some structure to a couple of ideas I've had. And, you know, by this time next year, that's something I plan on launching. But I got something else that's going to launch here in about 2 weeks. I'll tell you more about that later, though.
Okay. All right, cool. Have you had a lot of young people ask you how do you print things? Has there been a lot of interest in that? Or do you feel that there's a need?
Well, I think most of the younger people, man, and again, I'm 40, so I'm considering that people 30 and under, they are light years smarter than I am, right? I mean, I was playing Oregon Trail and Number Munchers in school. These kids are writing code in their spare time.
They are.
There's a big gap there. So what happens for me is I've got a couple of them that reach out to me and they're like, I can do your graphic design work, or I can wholesale with you, and I'm okay with that. You know, they've got their own system, they've got their own way, but for me, the people that I'm thinking of that I can probably teach is going to be like 25 to 55. Because
Right.
anybody younger than that, dude, I'm a dinosaur to them, right? They're like, oh, that's an old way of thinking. You still use cash? Get out of here, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
So you also said that you're involved in Bless Fest, and some other events. Let's talk about that.
For sure, man. Shout out to Dan and Amy Henderson and just the Henderson family altogether, man. So, semi little known fact.
Are they related to Paul Henderson?
Yes. Shout out to Paul too.
I work with Paul.
Do you?
Yeah.
Paul's awesome.
Paul is a huge fan of this podcast.
Paul is awesome.
Shout out to Paul.
Yes, Paul. I hope you're going to be checking it out when it airs. I'm going to tag him. He's a great guy.
He is a great guy.
So their family's great altogether. So let's see. About 6 years ago. No. I'm going to go back to Albion. So about 8 years ago, when I lived in Albion, there was a girl there. She was Tia Page at the time. She's Tia Burrell now. Shout out to Tia and Earl. Hey, guys. I was doing my Christian rap thing, right? Because that was another phase of my life. And, you know, it was after the license plate and insurance thing. I told you I was in church, man. So Tia's like, hey, do you know about this thing called Flow Fest and Bless Fest in Lansing? And I'm like, never heard of it. She's like, it's a Christian rap Christian festival. I'm like, cool. One day I'll check it out. You know, in my head, I'm like, I ain't got no gas money to get to Lansing. I don't care. But I knew it was a good thing. So when I moved to Lansing, I had some kind of way talked to somebody, and they were like, oh, I bet you could perform on the rap stage. I'm like, it's been a little while since I've done that, but all right. So I connected with it that way. And I did it the one time. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I want to stay connected some kind of way. But I was busy, you know. And so Dan had been the MC for I don't know how long. And another girl and myself, it was Alexis Rosado. Hey, Lexi. We were supposed to be co-hosts for Bless Fest. Adam Williams, shout out to Adam. What's up, man? Adam had recommended me to host. And unfortunately, at the time that we were supposed to do all that, I had a close relative to pass away. And I was like, I can't. There's no way. I'm not focused. I can't do it. And so the following year came back around. I reached out to Dan. I'm like, hey, man, if you're still interested, I would love to do it. And, we've been a match made in musical heaven ever since, right? So in addition to hosting last year, or this year rather, 2021 was the first year that I kind of took up helping Dan to book talent as well, because that was something I'd already done.
Right.
And so it's probably my favorite time of the year for me, the most wonderful time of the year, right? To give away and to just be able to connect with people. And I see so many people that come to Bless Fest and they message me or they friend me on social media. And a lot of times because of location, some of them are homeless or less fortunate. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like, this is an opportunity for me to connect with everyone, right? So however we impact people in life, you never know. There was a guy my first year that I hosted, and he came back after Bless Fest, the night that the second night of Bless Fest, he came to me and we talked for about an hour. And dude, I was out there 8 hours. I was tired, ready to go. But I'm like, no, this is a great opportunity. He came back the next year and he wasn't homeless anymore.
Wow.
And he's like, I just wanted to come show you, that I'm not dead and I'm not on drugs. And I'm like, I never thought that you were. And he's like, I have an apartment now and a job. Wow. And so that's the give back, right? And that's the takeaway as well, because you never know how. I don't know how that in fact, I don't even know what I said to him to impact him in a way to make him want to come back to me and say, I thought you should know. But it was something. So that's
maybe it was just him seeing that you were a local entrepreneur and you started from nothing, and you were able to kind of get to this point in life. Sure. And he was like, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And I always think about that space, man, because I do remember a time in my life where I was down to one pair of shoes. I had nowhere to live. I didn't know what I was going to eat. I didn't know where gas money was going to come from.
Have you ever been homeless before?
I was like the flyest homeless guy around. No, seriously, like I had a nice car.
Okay.
And in my trunk, I had like my clothes, right? Because I was like, man, I could always go, shower with these girls. Like I can go to their house and do that, right? But I think people questioned it, like, where's this guy even live, But like, I was always good to go wherever we went, or, So, I mean, technically, I wasn't live under a bridge homeless, but I definitely couldn't tell you where my mail is going homeless.
Wow.
I didn't know, man.
How old were you?
Man, this must have been, I think between like 23 and 25. Those were some weird years. Maybe 24, 26. They were some really weird years. Like I was just doing everything I could to get by. And even with that, like I think I had a job too. So I had a job. Yeah, I did have a job, because I remember I would get paid and I would go to this scummy Motel 6, like across the bridge from my job. And I was like, this is horrible. It's horrible being here. But it was like $29 a night,
Oh my gosh.
And I'd come back and it got so bad that the lady was like, same room? I was like, ew,
Oh.
Why do you even know me? Like, I'm probably, because I was working collections at the time, and I was thinking, I've probably called you on the phone. Like, oh, why am I here? And so, yeah, it was a weird space. And so I think for me, there's a really soft spot in my heart for people that get into those situations. Mm-hmm. Like I said, man, I was down to one pair of shoes, and everybody that knows me knows I'm a shoe freak. Like, I purged 30 pairs of shoes from my, collection. It's not a collection, because, I mean, a collection is like a guy with stuff on the wall. But, like, from my shoes, I purged 30. And then I bought 40.
Oh my gosh.
Over like a few months. And so even now,
what shoes you got
I mean, just a little light work, some Jordans, nothing too major, man. A little light work, nothing special. Because I'm big on dress shoes. Casual shoes, dress shoes, that's my favorite. Like right now I've got like maybe 10 pair that I haven't worn. Just because I'm waiting for the right like color or the right outfit or
Oh
the
my
right
gosh.
or like the right season's got to come back around
Okay.
for it. And I don't care where the shoes come from. Like, dude, I've been in like Plato's closet and been like, oh, I gotta get that.
So you're not like one specific type of shoe, not just a Nike guy,
No.
just everything.
Casual and dress shoes. Those
Okay.
are my bag. Those are the things that kind of intrigue me. You know.
It's kind of funny how shoes can have that effect on people, right?
Yeah.
Like shoes don't mean anything to me.
Sure.
You know, I'm wearing Converse, you know.
Hey, man.
I like Converse. I
Yeah.
think they're cool looking.
Yeah.
But you know, if they get dirty, they get dirty.
Right.
I don't care. But there's shoe people out there that just like they go home every day and scrub their shoes. Like there's a guy I work with. His name's Sway. He's a musician,
Yeah.
rapper, and he
Talented guy. Shout out, man.
Yeah.
Great guy. Yeah.
yeah, and he has a huge shoe collection, and he spends thousands and thousands of
sure.
dollars on it. I'm just like that's just not me. I don't.
Yeah.
I just one of those things I don't get. It's not me. But
He's got to do it, man. I saw him rock Common Ground like a couple of years ago.
Okay.
He's a great artist, you know. He's
Yeah.
a humble guy too, man. From my experience of chatting with him.
he works at GM too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a lot of talented people that do other things that work at GM
Yeah.
locally. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's a cool place to drive past, but I was like, I don't know. That's I don't know.
As far as working there,
Yeah,
it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely, and it's definitely one of those places that has changed over the years. Like back in they call it the good old days, like
Right.
when my dad hired in. Actually, maybe even before he hired in, you know, you didn't work as hard, and I mean, it was harder work, but at the same time, you had less components to the
Right.
job.
right.
People are smoking on the line. People are snorting cocaine off of bumpers and crap. Like, it was just a wild place.
Like, I got a really good friend. She's been there for some years, and she's like, I think the biggest thing, because I don't want it to sound like that's not a job that I would ever do, because it's not that at all. Like, the people that work at GM, you know, I can't play big bank, take little bank with these people, right? Because I already know what it is. So I got a good friend that's been working there for some years, and she scared me away because she's like, now when you first come in, whatever shift they give you, you're gonna have to be there. And I'm like, I'm too busy. Like, I can't, and I think I had done like one of the local companies, they were like doing some outside hiring maybe for GM, and they were like, no, you're probably gonna work 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. or something like that. And I was like, so I should put the clipboard where? Because I'm just gonna go, I mean, and so that's what scares me about GM. I'm like, oh, bad hours, I can't do it.
Yeah, and that was one of the unfortunate things. Like for me, my wife actually, she just did the podcast yesterday, and her and I
Okay.
were talking about like she works at GM too.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that's where we met.
Ah, okay.
But when you hire in, you're on the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
And so you're stuck on the crappiest shift. And at that time, there was 3 shifts. So there was first shift, second shift, and third shift.
Okay.
So second shift would start at 2:30 and get out at 10:30.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
That shift isn't as bad. And then you got third shift that's 10:30 to 6:30.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess it depends on what you prefer.
Right.
But now we have 2 shifts, and it's first shift 6:30 to 4, and
Okay.
second shift is 5:30 to 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
That shift will wreck you. It's
Yeah.
so depressing. I was on that shift for like 6 months, and I was ready to quit. I'm like, this is for the birds.
When I was living down in Albion, man, there was a place, and maybe it was like a Owens Corning place. They made fiberglass, I think, and the girl I was dating, like that community really is, because of the size of it, and there being a lot of plants and warehouses and factories. Like, that's what a lot of people do, and that's that's cool. I mean, they have made great lives of it. But me coming from Columbus, the factory thing didn't make sense for me. And so I was like, well, I'll try it, and I'll see how this goes. They offered me a good hourly, and I'm just thinking, all right, can't be bad. It's fiberglass. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure they got some good PPE in there, whatever. And the shift was horrible. It
Yeah.
was like No, it wasn't GM with that crazy shift. It was there. It was 2 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, dude, by the time I get off work, I'm not going to want to take care of any business. I'm going to just go crash, come right back. And I did it for about 4 days. And the fourth night, I took a break because I got fiberglass in my eye. Because, well, I guess that was a common thing. And I was like, not for me. I'm going to go rinse this out. And the guy's like, rinse it out. Get back on the line. I'm like, uh-huh. And so I went to the break room. Shout out to the Roseanne show. And I'll tell you why here in a second. I sat down and I started watching an episode of Roseanne on Nick at Night. And it was an episode where her husband had, like, I think the plant or wherever he was getting ready to quit or get fired. And I was sitting there and I was watching and I was like, you know what? If I watch this full episode, I'm not going back on the floor. That's what it's coming down to. I'm not gonna go back on the floor. Dan Connor is gonna be the deciding factor whether I go back. If he quits this job, I'm not going back. And he quit. And so my supervisor came in and he was like, hey, man, what are you doing? And I turned and looked at him and he saw it in my eyes. He was like, just put the hard hat on the desk. and it was a wrap, man. I left. I was like, yeah, I'll just be here to get my check Friday. See you guys. And I felt so relieved. But I mean, whatever, man. No diss to the factory setting. Just it wasn't for me.
It's a different kind of work.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, oh, you work at GM? That's a great job. Like, it's really not. Like, as far as, it's not what it's cracked up to be.
Right.
People don't realize how hard it is because, the company, what they want to do, I gotta be careful with what I say.
Right, for sure.
But their job and their whole purpose is to try to limit as much of the workforce as possible, right? Because
sure.
then they save money.
Right.
So they're constantly taking things and adding it to jobs, and it just overloads it, and you're just working nonstop, and it's an endless cycle. But I don't know. I'm grateful for my job. I've obviously been able to provide a decent lifestyle for myself. But
well, and I mean that's a beautiful thing. And so for me, I'm like, oh my God.
I really should get like a phone holder for that.
Destroying stuff over here, man. I can't afford to replace any of this.
Oh, you're good.
I'm self-employed. Oh, I got it. I'm going to rig it up right here. I appreciate it, though. So I'm just going to go live for just a second to
All right, cool.
talk about this awesome thing that we're doing here. But anyway, yeah, man. No, so GM, and I know Lansing is a GM town.
It is.
So you can't go 20 feet without meeting somebody that used to work there, wants to work there, got fired from there, can't stand the place. You're going to run into that.
Yep.
So, yeah, and shout out to the guys at GM who've had me to do print work for them during elections. Or I have no clue how you guys do that, but
it's probably the union, right?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
He's like, make sure the bug's on there. And I was like, all right,
The
man,
bug?
it's going to be on there, the union bug. I'm like, it's going to be on there.
That's funny.
Because if it ain't on there, I want my money back. I'm like, it's going to be on there.
Geez.
Relax.
Relax, union guys.
Man. I don't need to be like, buried under a baseball stadium. I'm just the flyer guy. Hold on, man. So anyway, yeah.
So you also said that you have a podcast studio.
Yeah.
And that's something that you're going to be running out to just anybody who wants to start a podcast?
No? I'll probably be very selective about that. But yeah, so over at my, I'm going to speak it as how I would like it to be, right? So at the Banner King compound.
I like that.
Yeah. At the Banner King compound, there's going to be a photography studio in there, somebody that I'm kind of partnering with. It's his own business, but I'm partnering with him to make sure he's good with what he does, and then make sure we have an opportunity for local photographers to maybe come in and rent the space out.
Okay.
And the same with the podcast. So I may like produce the podcast or be the engineer for the podcast session, but really it's to give people an outlet to do that. I mean, I know there are so many different ways you can do it, but if you've got it set up in a really professional way, it's great for your guests, kind of like your play. I mean, this is really good.
This is
really nice, man.
This isn't bad. And that's one thing I realized, like, with starting this podcast is when I first started it, I had a couch. And I had a couple floor mic stands. Like kind of like doing it in this, it was kind of like, I don't know, like I'm doing it in my basement on a couch. It didn't seem that professional. Yeah. But when I got this set up, people come down here like, oh wow, this is sweet. It makes them feel like they're in a professional space, and it kind of allows you to relax a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna borrow some ideas I see here.
Feel free to take pictures, whatever.
I won't take pictures. I'll have a photographic memory with it. I mean, because if I take pictures, I'll do it exactly like you did. So I don't want to do that. But.
Don't worry, it'll change here soon. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And plus you're gonna add banners, right? Signage and all that good stuff. Shout out to the Banner King one more time.
Yeah. So, what kind of setup do you plan on having? Do you plan on having like a table?
Yeah. So right now I've kind of got the table set up, and I've got the I wish I could think of the brand of the deck that I'm using, but I got some really good condenser mics. You know, it was a whole bundle we had put together. Got the condenser mics, the headphones, and the mic stands, and you know, all the proper things that we need to run an efficient podcast. It's Rode brand. You familiar with Rode? Yeah. So it's really good quality stuff.
That's really good quality.
Yeah. It's really good quality stuff. And so I'm partnering with, like I said, another guy on that. And then my cousin Jason, who also works at GM, he's partnering with me on that part of things and several other ventures we got in the works, man. And so it's for me to always make things grow. Like, I'm an idea guy, right? And so an idea guy can sit back and maybe not execute himself, but pull other people in to start the execution process, and then come back around and be like, that's exactly what I meant. You get it. You see my vision through. So, and
you're also uplifting other people in the process.
Absolutely, man. I try to give and build people up as much as I can. Right. Yeah, I mean, and so I have my, I don't want to say sound, but I do music trivia and karaoke and music bingo as well. Oh, cool. And so I did a lot of that at local bars and restaurants for a couple of years. And so I'm branching out completely on my own doing that. And so shout out to Wing Heaven. I'm going to be hanging out with them, working on some stuff here in the very near future. And actually, while we're talking about events and ventures, this Friday, we're going to be at the Ellison's Brewery downtown for the Smoothie Queen Spooktacular Halloween, whatever the name is.
Right.
I'll be doing
the Spooktacular or whatever.
Yeah. So you definitely can get tickets for that, man. I'm going to be doing karaoke that night. We got another awesome DJ coming in from Saginaw, I think he's coming in from. Costume contests and giveaways and all that, and anybody that's been to Smoothie Queen knows that she makes awesome smoothies, and so
it's amazing. Yeah, I'm trying to get her on the podcast.
You should, man. I should have brought her with me so we can get some smoothies. I have like this thing called oral allergy syndrome where I shouldn't eat raw fruits and vegetables.
Really?
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. So
what happens if you do?
I itch and all. It's bad, man. I kind of break out a little bit, but. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and she's like, I got this caramel apple cider smoothie, and I'm thinking, all right, you said apple, which means I shouldn't have it, but I'm gonna convince myself to have it. And so as I'm drinking it, I'm starting to itch, but I'm like, I'm gonna finish it. Doesn't matter, it's really good, right? So shout out to Tam, good smoothies. And so the venture for that particular event on this Friday is being put together by Smoothie Queen.
Skin Studio, right?
Skin Studio. Shout out to Lauren. Najima, Iman. It's also a collaborative effort with all of them. And so, and I'm just happy to be in the equation, right? So if anybody's looking for something awesome to do, pop out on Friday, Ellison's Brewery.
I have to check that. I might check that out.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Be my guest. I mean, you got to pay, but be my guest. I get some good karaoke songs out of you that night.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I got going on, man. And it's a lot. Working on some because I write music. I write songs too, right? So
are you still rapping? Do you still do the Christian rap?
Somebody the other night I was hanging with a friend of mine, and she's like, I want you to rap. And I'm thinking, I really don't do that much, but yeah, all
Can you
right.
rap on here?
Can I rap on here?
Yeah.
Uh,
You should have known I'm gonna ask.
yeah. So I will, not necessarily in a freestyle space, but I got a song
Okay.
that I've always liked. It's always been one of my favorites, and it's called "Tell the World," because I was really feeling myself with the delivery of and it started as a freestyle, and so I was like, "Oh, this is good. Like, am I gonna finish this? Am I gonna get this whole 16 in without messing up?" And so, yeah, it's called "Tell the World." Yeah, and then people are, oh, they're, I got my live on women. People are like, it's low. But anyway, the verse is like, God sent him, represent him with the quick. Man, I cannot forget what it is when he did what he did with the price paid, life saved, I'm free. So in return, it's all about the praise and glory. I lift my hands, do my dance, and I got to get my praise in. Why? Because I know he always making ways, man. Truth be told, I know we paid that price, and I got no choice but to stay repping Christ from the depths of the sea back to the block. I'ma preach Christ and I cannot stop. Been to London, England, Tokyo, and France, and anywhere in between. They seen him, and you know that he witnessing, man, because they hung him high, stretched him wide, hung his head for me, he died, got back up and got back up. What? Got back. I got eternal. I messed up. But I mean, I don't do it anymore, man. I don't do it anymore. Shout out to Joe Brown. Me and Joe been talking about rap. Joe is a really dope Christian rapper too, man. So you gotta get him on one day. But
Okay.
yeah, the blessings are real. Appreciate you, Joe. What's up, Najima? Yeah, that was weird. I haven't done that like in a while, man. Like I literally forgot it. Cause I don't think I'm the greatest, but I don't write it down.
Okay. You
So
just stored it in
if
your
I
mind.
remember it, cool. If I don't, it's gonna be different each time, and it has been. Like I remember when I first got to Michigan, I got all these crazy stories, man. When I first got to Michigan, there was a kid named Butch Rocky in Jackson, and him, and man, tragically, A.R. Domino, who we just lost a few weeks ago. It was the first time I had recorded with either one of them, and Rocky was like, "All right, here's the beat. You got a verse?" And I'm like, "I always got a verse." So I go in and I do it, and I'm like, I can do it better. He's like, no, but do it like that. And I'm like, the words are probably gonna be different. Sorry. And so we listened back, and there were like 10 different takes
Oh wow.
of me. I started the same and ended the same, but everything in between was totally different. So, but no, for me, as far as music, man, like right now, I've been kind of tapping into some of my R&B stuff. So there's a guy here that you're probably familiar with named Lucas Holiday. He was on The Voice, and he did some other things. Yeah. So I co-wrote a song with him. It was his debut single.
Okay.
I guess you want to say that, called If I Could Go Back. Great song. And we've got some other things in the can, man, in the works. And so
Sounds like you're always working on something.
I am. I say to myself, I need downtime and a vacation, but it's not true.
Right.
Like I just got to the point where I don't take my laptop in the bedroom because I'm like, I really need to.
I seen you posted on
rest. You saw
Facebook
that?
you're gonna take the TV out of your
I
room.
did.
Did you?
Some of the best sleep I'm getting.
Really?
Yeah, I took it out like a week ago, and I thought about it because somebody else may need to do that too, right? So it's some of the best sleep I'm getting, but I didn't want to post it until I kept it out for a week because I didn't want to relapse.
Oh.
I didn't want to say I took my TV out my room, and then a couple days later I'm back to it.
So you found yourself watching TV quite often?
No, I like the noise.
Oh.
I can listen to a show and tell you everything that happened, but to say that I'm watching it, no.
Have you ever tried like white noise, like a fan?
Oh,
or
dude,
like
you know what's funny about that is that used to be my go-to, right? So I would have the fan now, and I gotta have the I gotta have the noise. Last night I slept without a fan, and I was like, how do people do this?
I don't
This
know.
is
I think
insane.
they're insane.
There's a video on YouTube, and I'd be thoroughly impressed if someone could find it. Because one night I was like, there's got to be like a white noise video on here. And so I found one, and I'm listening to it. And then just laying there with my crazy creative thoughts in the middle of the night, I'm like, you know what would be hilarious? Is if somebody did one of these videos, and like an hour into it, they just randomly scream.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I did that video. I did a video like that,
Oh my
but I can't
gosh.
find it because I had somebody else upload it for me.
Oh.
And so there's somebody that probably was getting great sleep and heard the most blood-curdling scream, just random, and then it went back to the white noise of the fan.
Oh my gosh.
Good times.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, right, yeah. So,
You got people on there watching the stream?
yeah, got a couple people.
Yeah.
Yeah, people tend to like me. Let's see who's on here. Najima Iman is on. Joe Brown is on. Pastor Maxie is on. I'm actually going to be the co-MC at an event at their church in November. It's a Stop the Violence rally. It's a lot of stuff been going on in Lansing, so this is a great time to hone in on some Stop the Violence stuff, Mark Miles is watching. Shout out to Mark. He and I worked at the collections job that I was talking about.
Okay.
I used to go to the hotel across the way, but God, man, that was a long time ago. But and today, because I always like to support other people's businesses, my beard is popping, and kind of shiny. Stephanie White, Hair and Skin Dazzle. She's a new business, out there where Lauren is as well.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of been using some of her products, and you can't see him, but Elvin Caldwell, he has I wish I could think of the name. It's an umbrella sock company, but I got those socks on today.
Oh.
You probably know. He's also running for a local political
Yeah.
position or something.
Yeah, I think I know
too,
you're talking about.
Great guy, but that's me, man. I'm always trying to find a way to support other businesses and entrepreneurs. So.
I think that's important, right?
It is.
Like, and that's the thing. It kind of goes back to that famine mentality,
Yeah.
If you're willing to support other people, it'll help you in turn.
Right.
Because then they'll be willing to support you, and it's a cycle, right?
Yeah, it is, man. I mean,
That's one thing I've noticed with doing the podcast is
Sure.
like for instance, I'm interviewing you, but I also interviewed Lauren, and I interviewed
Right.
I want to interview Tamara.
Tam, you got to come on here
and
bring smoothies.
I've interviewed a bunch of small business owners, and they're all supportive of each other.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I've seen several of my other customers to come on here with you. Kiana Pugh.
Oh,
Awesome young lady, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, here's a book right here. Shout out. Let me give her a little plug right there. Behind the Hustle. Kiana, you got to get that book. Dara Maho also, man.
Yeah.
Dara's
I loved her story.
Awesome.
She's a great person.
She is, man. Great story, great testimony. I love her and her husband, Mark, man. They're awesome people, so I appreciate them as well. But anywho. And Lauren, of course, it's the homie. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote? Anything?
Dude, there's always something to promote. I'm like I loosely want to say this, but like Don King, minus the hair. There's always something to promote. Greatest show in the world, only in America,
Yeah.
right? Only in Lansing. There's always something coming up. I don't know, man. I think I'm good. Come get these banners, man. Place your
Yeah.
banner orders. Visit the website. It's not that cool because I'm still working on it, but check out the website. It's bannerkingmi.com. If you want to reach out to me about getting a banner or any other print items that you need, it's not just banners. So
Business cards,
flyers, posters, business cards, again, because we just said that, magnets, anything you can think about creating for a friend or a family. Lots of things coming up, man. Oh, I do want to give another shout out too, actually, because there's another event that I'm somewhat a supporter and sponsor in. It's a trunk or treat event taking place at Logan Square on next week, on next Saturday from 3 to 6 p.m. So I think I'm going to have my speakers out, maybe do some music and karaoke with the kids,
cool.
but a lot of local businesses are rallying behind another promoter, goes by the name of Silly Boy, rallying behind him to kind of put together this great event. And anybody that knows him knows that he's all about community, and he also works at GM.
Really?
Yeah, but not here locally, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so next Saturday, 3 to 6, we're going to be doing a trunk or treat out at Logan Square, man. And so
you're gonna do an event Friday, and then you're gonna go do another event Saturday.
yeah, if I can get one Sunday, I'm going. I might have something on Sunday. I got to check my schedule.
What do you use for a schedule?
Uh,
You just write it down?
yeah.
Keep it in your head?
Yeah, I text a lot of things to myself too.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, hey, well, it's not going to work right now, but I'm like, hey, Siri, remind me that I got to be at this thing on next Saturday and tell me this, and this about it. And, so I'm getting better. I'm really I'm going to get to a space where I have an assistant because, man, I probably could use one. Like I've listed probably 5 things I got to do in the next week. And that's, there's another thing.
Oh
so
gosh.
Thursday, I'm doing, it's called, I don't want to lie and tell you the name because I can't think of it. I'm going to post it all over Facebook. But Kim Milton Mackey, who is an awesome person, she runs a company called Events and Excellence. Her and Jeffrey Brown are going to be the moderators for this panel on Thursday. And Jeff's running for a position locally as well. I'm on the panel with them. And I want to say this is not the name, but it's Black Men in Business.
Okay.
Or of Faith, Black Men of Faith in Business or something like that. Sorry, Kim, I can't think of the name, but I'll definitely be sharing the flyer. So that's this Thursday.
Okay.
So yeah, I got a full weekend going on, man. Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, you're busy.
Always. What do you have coming up?
Work. I got to go to work this week. I have a podcast on Tuesday. I'm actually interviewing Haley, sorry, I don't remember her name now. She owns a plant business.
Okay.
Here, Hillary Coleman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's coming on Tuesday, and then Shirley Mitchner. Do you know who she is?
I do.
She's coming on Saturday.
Okay.
And,
that's gonna be good.
That's gonna be a really good one.
Yeah, strong lady, man.
Oh, I love her. I met her at the Fledge.
Okay.
We did an event a couple.
What's up, Jerry? Shout out to Jerry.
Yeah, shout out to Jerry.
Yeah.
We did an event when September ends.
Yes. Hey, Erica. Shout out to Erica for that one. She's been one of my clients for years too. Great girl.
Yeah, I like her.
Great lady. I don't call her.
Yeah, I like
girl.
Erica a lot. But yeah, I met Shirley at when September ends,
Okay.
and her and I got to talk, and she shared her story there,
Yeah.
and I was like, I need to have her on.
For sure.
So her goal is to have her story go on to 48 Hours
Okay.
and I think Dateline. So yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, yeah. I would wholeheartedly agree that she does need to be in that space, and being here with you will be good for her as well.
I just want to be able to do whatever I can to help elevate her and her story, you know?
Right.
I mean, it's just a small part of, her journey to something bigger.
Yeah.
But I think overall it will help, hopefully.
For sure.
The
For
more people
sure.
that find out, the more, I think the better it is,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many awesome people in Lansing, man, and I am grateful to just be one in the number here. Being in Lansing 7 years is the first time that I've been outside of Columbus for an extended period of time. And so though I was an adult when I left Columbus, I feel like Lansing forced a different level of maturity on me because I moved here and I was married and I had the traditional family set up right.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm not in that space. And so, of course, you have to deal with the man in the mirror and yet process life as it comes at you and still be responsible in other areas. And so Lansing is the space that forced a maturity that I don't know that I would have got anywhere else because, I'm kind of here by myself.
Right.
Well, my mom lives with me now, but kind of here by myself, so I don't have, family here in Lansing. Didn't have much of a friend network or a support network. And, the relationships that I got as I first got here, I still have them. I remember the first, maybe the first 5 people that I connected with when I moved to Lansing, and I'm still good with all of them. Like every one of them I've talked to within the last couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
And so that's very important to me. And lastly, the way that I kind of started forging relationships here in Lansing, there's an artist named Mally Music that was doing a concert here at the Loft, and I had worked with him before and kind of had a relationship, and so I reached out to the Loft because he's a Christian artist. So I reached out to the Loft, and I'm like, hey, I see you have him listed as a folk artist. How those ticket sales going? Because you're probably pushing them to the wrong demographic.
Right.
And so I remember sitting down with them and kind of explaining how the church was who you needed to focus on to get him. And it became a good event, man. It was a full house on a Monday night of all nights. Like, that's a hard sell in the summertime, right?
Right.
And so that was really my introduction to doing events in Lansing and connecting with the church community, and seeing the black entertainment scene, if you will, from the church perspective. And so this has been an amazing 7 years for me in Lansing. Kind of hit some bumps along the way, and I can look back and say, man, I wish I would have done things totally different. Even this year, dude, I got things that I'm like,
That's how you learn, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you make mistakes, and then I mean, as long as you don't look at it as a failure, right? You just you look at it as like a lesson learned. Okay, I won't do that again, and move on.
Yeah. I mean, because I think we're all entitled to be an idiot every now and then.
I'm an idiot all the time.
Oh,
I'm an idiot on this podcast right now.
Dude, I was talking to my attorney yesterday, and I was like, I'm stupid sometimes. Was it Friday? Yeah. I'm like, I'm stupid sometimes, man. We have a clause in the relationship where I get to be stupid a fourth of the year, and you're gonna just kind of make that make sense for me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about Lansing?
What's my favorite thing about Lansing?
Yeah.
Man, I'm just getting to a point where I'm discovering Lansing. And it's really crazy. Like, I have never been to a Lugnuts game.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never been to a Lugnuts game. I've only been to the Lansing Zoo for work. Like, I was doing an event with Ingham County, and then I was just there with a church recently. So I'm figuring out what it is that I like about Lansing.
What's your favorite aspects of, like, the entrepreneurs in Lansing, the community as a whole? Because, like, that's one thing I've discovered from doing this podcast, is Lansing has a pretty tight-knit community.
Right.
We talked about that at the beginning, where it's a big town, but it's also, like, it has that, like, small town, small city vibe, right?
Right.
I feel like there's a big support system within the local entrepreneurs and artists in the area.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I 100% agree, man. And with Lansing being, coming from Columbus, going to Albion, I remember when I got to Albion, I was trying to do events, and I would promote those events. And this was very small town thinking for some people. Instead of just taking the flyer, they would be like, who are you related to? Who are your people? And I'd be like, what? Do you want to come or not? Like, what are we talking about? And Lansing is not very far from that in a sense of, they may not say, who are you related to? They just kind of want to know. Some people I've worked with, they're like, oh, well, who else have you, done things with? Whereas in a city like Columbus, maybe you can go get a nice venue, have a nice artist come, and it's going to work.
Right.
So I think it's so tight-knit that it really is a family. But for me, I've always been a stay-out-the-way kind of guy. And so some of the people I associate with now, they are connected to other people, which in turn, I guess, connects me to these people as well.
Right.
And again, being here 7 years, I'm just now getting to the point where I'm okay with doing that. Like, I was just connected to, being a dad and having a business and working. That was my thing.
Right.
And so now I'm seeing that everybody really knows each other locally.
Yeah. And
we all do so many different things, but you're always within five people of, whoever you want to get to in the space that you're working in. So I think that's really cool for Lansing, man.
I think it is too. I mean, just in this podcast alone, you've mentioned several people that I know, several people that have been on the podcast.
Right.
I mean, it just kind of goes to show how small it really is.
Right.
It's small in a good way, not like, we're closed-minded or
right.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of different people doing awesome things.
And I think a lot of us have a mutual respect for each other too.
Yeah.
You don't find that quite often. Like we talked about earlier, you asked me if I had competitors, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I'll send people to those competitors before I send you out of town,
right,
or before I tell you to hop online and find it, because if my competitors are able to stay in business, it's going to keep me sharp. So it's friendly
Yep.
competition.
It'll keep you in business too,
And it'll
right?
keep me in business, yeah.
Because obviously there's a need for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If you take it online, that takes the need away.
It does take it away. And this is a want. I look at my business as something you have to want. Like there are elements of it that you're gonna need if you're in business, but most of it you're gonna want. Like business cards. If you're in business, you're gonna need them.
Right.
Are you willing to pay what I charge? I don't know. Are you willing to pay what another guy charges? I don't know. Are you willing to just, go aside any of us and be like, I'm just gonna go to Vistaprint. Give me 500 of them for free. Hey, whatever works for you, man. But there's always gonna be something where people need items.
Right.
And then the other cool thing about people in Lansing is in my experience, they want to deal local.
Have you noticed anything significantly different since COVID? Because like for me, this is the thing. Working at GM, working all the hours we work, we work a lot of hours. So it's
Sure.
like convenience is key to everything. So we do a lot of our shopping online, like Amazon, or
Right.
like we'll do like the Kroger Carside pickup because it's just just easy and we just need to go.
Yeah.
But since COVID, realizing that all these small businesses have been hurt because of COVID and a lot of places have shut down. Have you noticed that a lot more people are shopping locally, are willing to spend their money locally? Maybe people are more willing to come to you rather than like Vistaprint or.
Yeah, I think that is a real thing because a lot of people prior to COVID maybe didn't have their thoughts shifted toward the small business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of them were small business owners as well, and they were affected.
Right.
And so I think by them being affected, they're like, oh, it's good for economy if I shop with a local guy, because that means a local guy is probably going to shop with me as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that was one of the big things I noticed. And then, it's no secret that a lot of people got unemployment. A lot of people got like PPP loans and, whatever. If you did, you did. And then a lot of businesses started out of that as well.
Right.
And it was fortunate for me because it was always like, well, I know a guy that makes banners, and it's easier just to call a guy versus have to hop online and do all this searching.
Right.
And if you're calling a local guy, 9 times out of 10, he's going to do more work than he actually has to. Whereas I get customers that sometimes have the most ridiculous request ever. And they're like, what are you going to charge me for 78 flyers? And I'm like, why don't you just get 100? I don't know. Like, what are we talking about here? And you can't hop online and type in a quantity of 78 without it defaulting to 100.
Right.
But I'm a guy that may say, you know what? I'm just going to charge you for the 78 flyers, but I'm going to do 100 anyway.
Right.
Because it makes sense to me. It's the same amount of work to run 100 as it is to run 78.
Right.
Yeah, so that's one big takeaway. A lot of local business owners are starting to support each other more. And I know, like you mentioned, some of the curbside options and stuff like that. When the pandemic really hit, I was doing DoorDash, and it was great. It was great. Like, at first I was like, host events. I ain't delivering no food. No, and I was working with 97.5 at the time, like
Wow.
hardcore working, doing the remote events. Like, and that stuff tapered off. And then I was like doing substitute teaching with a couple of school districts. Obviously school was out. And I was like, I do this, I do that. I even make banners. I'm not delivering, And then I started doing it. My brother TJ, he's like, man, you ain't got nothing else. You better do it. So I jumped in and I told him about it. And I'm like, yeah, I just made like $300 in the last 6 hours.
Wow.
And he's like, what? And the way he thinks is, okay, you might have got lucky, but you won't do it again. And so it became a consistent thing, whereas I was like, okay, well, let me see. I got nothing going on. I was in the middle of a divorce thing, right? So I'm like, I got nothing but time, The dog doesn't miss me. He's all right. So I would go out from 7 a.m. to like 10 p.m. doing DoorDash.
Wow.
You know, and I'd call him and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he'd be like, "I'm at the plantation." That's what he always says about his job, which he has a great job, but he's like, "I'm at the plantation." I'd be like, "Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I made like 1,500 doing DoorDash this week." And he'd be like, "What?" And so I sent him the referral link because, you know, I would get money if he got money, you know, whatever. And it started to be a competition. Like, it was insane. Like, there were days and I was like, I don't even know if this is legal to make this kind of money from DoorDash.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so oversaturated now that I don't see it getting back to that. You know, it's like cryptocurrency, stuff like that. You gotta get in when the getting's good, you know. So
there's a guy I have on the podcast. He's actually a sponsor of the podcast. Red Bike Delivery. Jeremy Hurt.
Yep.
You know who he is?
I am familiar with him. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I am familiar with him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's obviously he's in competition somewhat with them, you know, because he's food delivery for them. But yeah, I couldn't imagine wanting to do that. I mean, I deliver food.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm not. You know who I am? I'm not doing like that's where my thinking was.
I'm above this. Above this.
It really was.
But it's a huge need, right?
It is, man. So like the first time I got out there, I was like talking to myself like, if somebody say something to me about this red bag, I'm going home. Like that was the first. I was like, I'm not putting up with crap from anybody.
And that's the thing. Like most people get angry with their delivery, their delivery people because their food's cold or you didn't get what they didn't get what they ordered or you know.
Yeah.
They're the first people to get it.
Yeah, in my head I was thinking like, because I would literally have like they didn't have your direct number, but if they wanted to call you to see where you were, they could call a dummy number that would ring to you, and I'd get people like, "Hey man, where's my food?" And I'd be thinking, gosh. Yeah, I will literally eat your Five Guys. Don't irritate me right now. And mark it delivered. Don't irritate me.
Have you ever ate anybody's food?
No. Well, you know what? I did, but here's what happened. Here's the why and the how. He canceled the order as I was picking it up. And I had one of two options, man. It was leave it there or just take it. And I was like, it's about lunchtime anyway.
I'm hungry.
Thanks for the Chipotle.
I can eat.
Yeah, I mean, because that does happen. Now, there are people that literally will. I don't know anybody that's done this, but I know of stories where people are like, you know, getting fries out of people's bags, which is cringy and weird, man. Even my brother one time, he didn't do that, but like he called me because like I said, we be in competition while we be out there. Like one of his deliveries took so long that the people called and canceled it. And he's like, guess who's having a steak tonight?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, you suck.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't get anything today. Not even cash tips. So, but you know, all of that has made me successful at being the banner king, right? Because I get to deal with all types of people. So that's honing my customer service skills, sharpening all of that.
Right.
You know, from a man who's homeless to a man who's a politician, I deal in that space. And one thing about me is I've always tried to learn how to meet people where they are. And that's not being fake. That's just meeting people where they are. You know, if you don't eat steak, there's no sense of me planning a meeting for us to go to Mitchell's.
Right.
Or what any other steakhouse.
Right.
If you're like, I like Panera, let's go to Panera.
Right.
I like steak, but if you're the customer, Panera's going to be it. So I apply that to everyday life, meeting people where they are. Mm-hmm. You know, I give, right? I do a lot of different things that I just don't really speak on because I believe that God gives seed to the sower. And so explaining for somebody that may not get that, you know, I feel like the more I give, I receive. And some of what I receive is for me, but then some of what I receive is to continue to give.
Right.
And that's just how I live life. Like there are events that I've hosted and I've, you know, gotten paid to be the host or the MC, and I'll give the money away. I'll cash app it to people like, hey, somebody here, send me here's my phone number. First 10 people to text me, you know, and that's not a bragging thing, because I don't ever want it to be seen as that.
Right.
But I know that it's my way of proving God at his word. Like, he said this, and I'm just doing this.
Right.
And so reaping a harvest is a part of the process. So.
And it's not even necessarily about getting something, like,
Right,
you know,
right.
it's about what you receive, like, as an, like how you feel about helping other people.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important to do real community service like that.
Right. Apparently, I haven't had the volume up. Thank you, Vincent. Vincent Hall, shout out, man. Vincent got an event coming up too. He's a personality over at 96.5. I appreciate you,
cool.
man. Thank you. I didn't even know. So maybe some of this y'all didn't need to hear, but
They've been lip reading.
Yeah, they've been lip reading, right? Or maybe we could do what do you call it? I don't know what's going on with the sound. I got an old iPhone. It's the 10. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to turn it up. Anyway, y'all will be able to hear this sometime and watch this sometime this week. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, it'll be on YouTube and every audio platform. So
nice.
Yep.
And this is awesome what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
Reaching out to and working with local business owners and entrepreneurs and the everyday man, it seems like, because everybody doesn't necessarily have to be a business owner to have a great story to tell.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's how I felt. I mean, I tell everybody the story, but, you know, when I started the podcast, I started for, like, people who had, like, stories like mine, who've gone through trauma and were able to overcome their circumstances. But then, like, I got laid off. I might have even done it before I got laid off, but I started interviewing small business owners because I'm like, you know, small business owners oftentimes have story of hurt. You know, like, they experienced something in life that they were like, you know what? I'm no longer doing that job. I'm done. I'm going to go off and do my own thing.
Right.
And that oftentimes comes from a place of hurt, where they've had enough, they're fed up. It's either I need to do something else, or I'm going to stick with this job I hate for the rest of my life. And so I find that incredibly inspiring. I mean, obviously your story, I think, is inspiring, where you came from nothing. You were essentially homeless, and then now you have a successful business, and you're constantly, every single day, doing an event with other local business owners. And I mean, think about that.
I mean, and listening to you say that, it doesn't resonate with me like it normally maybe should. Like, because hearing that back, I'm like, who's he talking about? But it's me you're talking about. So, you know, I have been putting the work in for years, man. And again, I'm 40, man. So there were a lot of years where I failed. I professionally failed with certain things. And with this business and any other venture I'm a part of, I can't always say it's going to be roses every day.
Right.
You know, I remember I had some event I was doing, but I also had a job at the same time. And back to what you were mentioning about hurt with certain jobs, the job, they didn't fire me, but they were like, we really don't need you right now. And I was in my feelings about this job that I only worked 20 hours a week at. And they're only paying me like $12 an hour.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, I'm really in my feels, you know, about this $240 check. Like, that's like 2 banners.
Right.
But I'm still in my feelings. So I don't know if it was the rejection aspect of it or the fact that I had put myself in a space where somebody was able to tell me, without saying this, that you aren't good enough for our $240. That's the way I took it. And I was like, I'll never go back to this kind of traditional employment.
Right.
You know, I got to be, I've literally gone to job interviews just to stay sharp with doing certain things. And they'll sit down and be like, so what are you looking to get from this company? And I literally was like, I need to be able to do whatever I want to do. And when I need to be off, I want to be off.
What's the response?
Some of them are like, that's very courageous of you to come in here and say. And then the others like, you got to be kidding. And then I had one place that was like, okay, I'm not going to meet your demands, but I like your bold approach. And I think there's a different position you can do in this company. So if you don't take those chances and say to yourself, all these people can do is say no.
Right.
I saw a job posting. They contacted me like through email or Indeed or something one time, and they're like, we're hiring for this, and we think you'd be a great fit. Call our office, to schedule an interview. Well, I knew where they were. So before they had an opportunity to actually know who I was, I went in and I asked for the hiring manager by name, because I saw it on Indeed as far as the position, and then I jumped on LinkedIn, typed in the company name, and found out who the hiring manager was.
Oh, jeez.
So instead of going in and be like, hey, I'm Genesis Terrell, and I'm here hoping you give me a job, I went and found him.
I like that voice.
Yeah, I know, right? I went and found him, and I was like, you're whoever it was, and you're the hiring manager here, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm considering working for your company. So I want to ask you a few questions. And he was like, who let you in? Like, did someone schedule or what's going on? I was like, I feel like if you're going to interview me, I should be able to interview you first. Because you're not the only one that gets to say whether I'm good enough to work here. I need to know if you're good enough for me to work here.
That's a good approach.
Yeah.
That's a really good
I didn't
approach.
get the job, but he's like, who is this guy? Because, I mean, you're only going to, if you don't try something, you won't know. Everything I've done or ever been successful at is because I tried and failed a ton of times. I failed so many times that when I succeeded, I thought I was getting punked. It's like, wait a minute, what do you mean?
Wait, that worked?
You're gonna pay me to do this? Me? Okay, I'm good. Let's do it.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely, man.
Your story again is inspirational. I mean, we didn't really talk too much about it, but you again you were homeless and you were able to make it out of the trenches.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, especially now, more than ever, like younger people need to hear stories of inspiration.
I was homeless with a girlfriend too. You know how hard that is to pull off? Anyway.
I was homeless when I was a kid. I was a kid.
That's tough.
It was tough.
Yeah,
but
that's tough.
It's a different perspective when you're a kid.
Sure.
It's not as scary because I was with my mom, so
right.
I was like, oh, she's got this. But
yeah.
It's a surreal thing, and I think now, like the days of COVID and the after effects,
right.
people are just, it's crazy times, man, and I think people need inspirational stories like yours.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and I look forward to doing business with you.
Likewise, man. See ya. Thank you.
All right, see ya.